Welcome to Jordan Hare Stadium. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Orange Tiger football! Please direct your attention to the south end zone. Scrum majors Peyton Flowers, Sarah Heyman, and Trey Bruce take the field.
Sweet soft southern crew. Worked hard all week, got a little jingle on a Tennessee Saturday night. Couldn't feel better, I'm together with my Dixieland tonight. Spend my dollar parked in a holler needs mountain moonlight. Hold her up tight, make a little loving, a little turning loving on a Mason-Dixon night. It's my life, oh so
welcome into the Patrick Party pregame show. We're excited you're here with us on this big college football Saturday. I don't know if I would have told you we would make it to this point back when we started this show on September 12th, but hey, we're here. It's Conference Championship Saturday, and we have so much to talk about here on the Patrick Party pregame show. Well, let's just go ahead and get right on into it. We have a big show planned today. So let's just start with what happened last night. You had the Pac-12 Championship, Oregon. USC, Oregon did not even win their own division, yet they were able to make it into that game because Washington, the Pac-12 North champions, had COVID problems. They said, okay, next man up, we're not canceling this football game. So then it was an Oregon-USC matchup. USC threw 2 interceptions on their own side of the field. Oregon was able to capitalize early, and USC, although all season they've been roaring back, they weren't able to last night. And the Ducks are your Pac-12 champions, Oregon, who didn't even qualify originally for the game. Just totally summarizes this entire season and year. Well, we've had so much happen. Definitely since the last time we've had a full-on, hour-long Patrick Party pregame show like we're going to have this morning. We had the Texas A&M Auburn matchup, so we had a shortened show because I was going to be in attendance for that one. And then last weekend, we were also off. I was doing other things. But we are back, and we couldn't have picked a better time because there are some huge matchups today that will certainly decide who is in. And we're going to have a whole bunch of segments talking about the college football playoff selection Sunday scenarios. It all happens tomorrow. And guess what else? Bowl season. Yeah, you probably forgot about it. You probably forgot that we were still even in the regular season here, less than a week away from Christmas. We're still playing regular season football games, and we'll get into that in the Saturday slate. But we do have bowl season, and bowl games start when? Monday. That's right. So we pretty much already know all of the bowl game matchups Monday through this Thursday. Then after we have the Selection Sunday show, we find out who's going to the playoff. And then all of the New Year's Six bowls, the rest of the bowls that have all the conference tie-ins and everything like that, we'll then start picking teams, and we'll find everything else then. But the bowl games this week, I can go ahead and read them off to you, and I will later in the show. But we are going to have 2 big announcements from the Patrick Party. Announcement number 1, we're going to have a Patrick Party pick'em for the bowl games. We're going to do it. We're going to make a nice Google form with a whole bunch of stats, links to more stats, and there's going to be a little bit of a twist. So when you're picking each game, you're going to pick, for example, we'll use the Outback Bowl last year when Auburn played Minnesota as our example. It'll be like Auburn versus Minnesota. It'll have the rankings, the records, a link for more information on like stats and that kind of thing. And then you'll have 3 choices: Auburn, Minnesota, or canceled. So if you click canceled and a game gets canceled, then that's your pick. If it doesn't get canceled and they kick it off, then you don't get a point. So it's just kind of an extra little wrinkle we're going to have specifically because of the season we're in. I'm pretty sure most games, if they're canceled, like they're not going to be replayed unless it's like a playoff or a New Year's Six bowl that has major implications on this season. Number 2, so we're going to have our Patrick Party Bowl Bonanza show Monday night. We'll have more information on our Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel here, all about how you can watch the Patrick Party Bowl Bonanza show. We're going to go through every single bowl game, even the one that happened on Monday. We'll have a little analysis of that. But how it's going to happen, all the bowls will come out Sunday. We are going to let our link or post our Google form that you can fill out to be a part of our bowl pool. It will go live, and we're going to post it all out Sunday at midnight. You'll have 24 hours. It's going to be our 24-hour bowl pick'em show. You'll have all the way through. You'll get to watch the Patrick Party Bowl Bonanza show in the evening, get some of your last-minute analysis, and then at midnight it'll close, and we'll start counting those Tuesday bowl games because we don't have time to just kill getting people to sign up because the bowl games are already starting. But before we get to bowl games, we have some big games today, and we're going to go ahead and break them down on our Saturday slate. Well, like I said, I didn't know we would be able to get here. Definitely exciting, but we're here. We have our Power 5 games that we'll have extensive analysis of, and then we're also going to talk about some of the games that are also happening today, some of our rescheduled games, and everything of that manner. So enough of me talking. We're also going to get in the coaching carousel because that has been a big thing for a couple of these teams, both of these teams on our pennant right here. And so we're going to break it all down here and more on the Patrick Party pregame show. So let's go ahead and get into our Saturday slate, how we like to start off every Saturday morning here on the Patrick Party. So you start with Tennessee and Texas A&M. A&M, the number 5 team in the country. You certainly think they want to get in, and you probably think they think they're deserving to get in, even though they won't even have won their division. Alabama's done it before. Can the Aggies get into the Final Four? Well, we're going to go through it on our Selection Sunday Sandals, but there is a path. They played the Tennessee Volunteers, and they're going to have to win that. That's a part of every path if they want to make it to the big dance. So they'll be at Neyland Stadium right after College game day. This is obviously a rescheduled game. Oh, we have some breaking news on the bottom line I'm seeing on my TV. Illinois. Remember they fired, I forget who they fired, but it was the black guy with the white beard. Illinois just hired Brett Bielema, former Arkansas head hog, will now be leading the Fighting Illini. So that's kind of cool. Just some more breaking news for those that have just heard. So that's enough for Texas A&M Tennessee. We're going to talk about Texas A&M a lot on this show. Then you have Utah, Washington State on Fox Sports 1, kind of a weird time in the middle of the morning, 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central in Salt Lake City. Well, this is going to be a fun one. Utah, they've had all kinds of COVID problems. I think they've only played 2 or 3 games, so we're going to see what Utah can get going. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they just had such a crazy season. I don't know how they can stay consistent. So that's kind of a crazy game. Perfect for the year. Then you have LSU, Ole Miss. This is going to be a fun one in Tiger Stadium on the SEC Network right before the SEC Championship, but, of course, that'll be on CBS. So you have LSU, Ole Miss. Ole Miss will be throwing it around. People have been talking about Lane Kiffin maybe for the Auburn job. I don't know if I really believe that or not. He hadn't really talked about it much, but they got a big game against a big rival, the Magnolia Bowl in Tiger Stadium. LSU coming off that huge, shocking win against Florida in the fog and the swamp. They made the 57-yard field goal to shock the Gators and maybe put them right out of the playoffs, even if they win today. We'll talk about that more on Selection Sunday Scenarios. But this is a big game nonetheless. This would be huge if LSU could win it. I think the winner of this game will get to 500 in the records, 5-5 in the SEC, and that would be big for both of these teams, especially since they play in the SEC West and it was such a hard schedule this season. Then we have Mississippi State and Missouri. Davis-Wade Stadium on SEC Network alternate also at the same time. Mississippi State coming off the loss to Auburn had a really crazy year. They've started to look better. In Missouri, who had really started to look better, and they turned it on. They even got ranked last week. They got blown out at home by Georgia. We'll see if they can bounce back on the road in Starkville. Mississippi State will be wearing those all-black uniforms, something new with the Mike Leach era. Then you have a big rivalry game, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Camp Randall Stadium. This has been rescheduled, obviously, on the Big Ten Network. 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. Wisconsin's had so many postponements. And then they had the loss to Northwestern, kind of took them out of the playoff, any chance of the playoff, or even the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State. And Minnesota, who had such a wonderful season last year, won the Outback Bowls, really come back down to earth in this all Big Ten schedule. And they will be playing in a big rivalry game. Wisconsin won last year's top 15 matchup. Then later tonight, we have Arizona State and Oregon State. Oregon State beat the Pac-12 champions, Oregon. Arizona State, they've also had some COVID problems, but they've really started to get it going in the last few weeks. Herm Edwards' squad, definitely really strong. I think it's going to be a really good matchup, but I think at the end of the day, I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I like Arizona State. And then we get into our Power 5 conference champions. First up, you see the Big Ten Championship. Northwestern, Ohio State, 4:14, Lucas Oil Stadium, Big Noon on Fox, right after their Big Noon on Fox pregame show. That comes on right after we're done. Well, this is a big-time matchup for a whole bunch of different reasons. Specifically, a lot of people, there's a big debate about Ohio State. Do they look like one of the 4 best teams? Yeah, probably. Does their record reflect it? Are they most deserving? Probably not. Well, there's just so much to talk about with this one. We're going to break it way down, so we're not going to get too into it. But, hey, I think Pat Fitzgerald, the Fighting Reese Davises, I think they definitely have a shot to shock Ohio State. We'll see what happens, but I think this could be a little bit better game than we were all thinking. Then two of the hottest teams in the country will face it off in AT&T Stadium later tonight. That's Iowa State and Oklahoma. The Sooners, who lost their first two Big 12 games. Iowa State lost to Louisiana in week 1 and then lost another game, but they are both on big winning streaks. Iowa State, number 6, could they get into the playoff? Is there any way we could see the Cyclones playing potentially the Tide in the Sugar Bowl? Well, we'll have to see. It's going to be a fun one on ABC at 12 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. More of this game to come. And then we have Alabama and Florida in the SEC championship game, 1-7. Florida losing last week in upset fashion to LSU. Certainly a shocker, to say the least, in the Swamp. But it'll be a Mercedes-Benz Stadium, SEC on CBS. In prime time, a little bit different SEC championship game time. So, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, your nightcapper. This will be a fun one. Certainly, the winner of this game feels like they'll go to the playoffs. Even if the Gators win, we'll talk about some scenarios with that. And then Alabama, they'll probably in no matter what, but this is obviously still a big game. And don't listen to that rat poison, as Nick Saban would say. And then the Patrick Party game of the day in Charlotte, the ACC Championship, Bank of America Stadium, ABC, middle of the day, afternoon time slot, 4 Eastern, 3 Central. The number 2 Notre Dame Fighting Irish playing in their first ever conference championship. Some new territory for the Irish, despite the fact that they've had such a storied history. And then the Clemson Tigers, number 3, they've been here, they've done that, they've won 5 straight. So it's going to be a big time matchup and a rematch of when they played in South Bend. Notre Dame winning in overtime. They stormed the field, wearing all the fans wearing the green for the luck of the Irish, and they're going to need some luck tonight because now they're playing Trevor Lawrence, and it's going to be a tougher task for Brian Kelly's squad. Looks like the winner of this game will probably go to the Rose Bowl. Well, guess what? Neither of these teams have ever been to the Rose Bowl. Clemson, probably believe it. Notre Dame, never been to the Rose Bowl. That's right. Pretty crazy. And that's going to do it here for our Saturday slate. And now our not as fun segment. The segment I hate. I always talk about how much I hate it. COVID-19 craziness, or just COVID craziness. Not fun. But I think the picture right there sums it up. You see Washington on our graphic. Man, they caused some craziness. Ended up giving Oregon that shot to get to the Pac-12 championship game. Oregon capitalizes over an undefeated USC and wins the Pac-12 championship. A second straight for the Ducks and Mario Cristobal. Well, we also have some cancellations that we're going to read off for you for people that might have any interest. So, let's start off. We have Vanderbilt, Georgia. Vanderbilt, they've had problems all year. My Lord. I mean, Vanderbilt, you got to get it together, brother, because other people have to play their games too. They've had some problems. Then a big one. We had the Sun Belt Championship, Louisiana, Coastal Carolina, a top 20 matchup, 19 Louisiana, number 12 Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is the one that had the problems. That game canceled. All these games are canceled, FYI. Michigan, because there's no time to make them up. Michigan at Iowa. Iowa on a big winning streak, number 16. That's a team you don't want to play in a bowl game because they've gotten it going. They had, I think, 2 straight losses to start the year. They're on like a 5-game winning streak. That's huge. So their game against Michigan, though, is canceled. Michigan, I guess they've just given up. Florida State, Wake Forest, canceled. Michigan State, Maryland, canceled. Georgia Tech at number 18, Miami, falling back after getting blown out by North Carolina, canceled. And then Arizona, Cal, as with all the Pac-12 and Big Ten games this year, canceled. Well, that's enough of that. Yeah, don't like that segment. Hopefully, so this is actually our last Patrick Party pregame show, like official Patrick Party pregame show. We're going to have more live shows throughout this whole holiday time. We're going to have our Bowl Bonanza show. We'll probably have our Patrick Party All-American New Year's show that we like to do every year. But, you know, there aren't going to be pregame shows, and we're going to have different shows just kind of geared for different bowl games. But this is our last official Saturday pregame show until next season. We'll do some stuff for college basketball, but this is it. So, hopefully next year we don't get to have this graphic no more, hopefully. But one graphic we are going to have for quite a long time is Heisman hopefuls. And man, it's coming down to the wire. It looks like it could just be decided in the SEC championship. Excuse me. Which, is that really how it's supposed to go down? Because if you think about it, it should accumulate the entire season. But it looks like with Kyle Trask and then all 3 of the Alabama greats all on the same team. What a recruiting class that was. Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris. I mean, you just keep naming half their team. All in the Heisman hopefuls. Also Trevor Lawrence, maybe an outsider. Maybe he'll get invited. I don't think he's going to win it. It would take something just crazy. COVID didn't help him this season. It looks like Kyle Trask might have played his way out of the Heisman Trophy with that loss to LSU. But I mean, if he just played amazing today, maybe people just vote for him. So it looks like it could come down to the game today in the SEC Championship, even though I feel like it should really be over the entire season. But that's just how the voters will probably take it. A lot of people think Devontae Smith is leading right now. I don't know. I mean, I think Mac Jones certainly has a big chance. Like I said, I think Kyle Trask might have played his way out of it, and I think Trevor Lawrence never really could get it back. I mean, they've won games, they've been fine, but they hadn't played anyone huge, and I think that Notre Dame game would have been a big moment for him to really have a Heisman moment if the Tigers could have turned around that outcome. So that's going to do it for Heisman hopefuls. I believe the ceremony is next weekend, so we should probably know after tonight's game who's probably going to win this thing. Now, for our a fun little segment we get to have, our Selection Sunday scenarios. Well, there is a lot, so let's go ahead and just read you off the college football playoff rankings. And then from there, we can kind of tell you how this goes. So, as you might expect, number 1, Alabama, followed by number 2, Notre Dame, number 3, Clemson, number 4, Ohio State. Some people think they're not deserving. I mean, they're a good team, but we'll see. Number 5, Texas A&M at 7-1. Iowa State's at number 6. Florida's at number 7. And then I think anything back here, I just don't think these teams have a chance. Georgia, game was canceled today. No. Cincinnati, we didn't talk about their game, but they play in a big game against a ranked Tulsa team. They haven't played in 3 weeks. They started to kind of fall back because they're just not playing. So we'll see. They're not going to make it. And I think anyone, even if Oklahoma were to just blow out Iowa State all the way at 10, I would just be completely shocked. So let's talk about this for a second. If Alabama, let's just go team by team all the way down. I think if Alabama wins today, they're obviously in. If Alabama loses today, they're probably in. I don't think there's much that's going to change for the Tide at this point. Then let's go to Notre Dame Clemson. Well, huge game today. Winner, obviously in, regardless. Now let's go to the loser. If Notre Dame were to lose, a lot of people think the undefeated Irish, or then one-loss Irish, if they were to lose, would still be in. Now let's get to Clemson. If Clemson loses, because one of these teams does have to lose, 2-loss Clemson, do they really deserve to be in the playoff? No. I don't think they should. I think it's win or go home for Clemson. I think Notre Dame is the team that if they were to lose, they could still win. Now we get to Ohio State. If they lose, they're out. If they win, they're probably in. Even with some cancellations, even though they've kept going, the committee has consistently ranked them number 4, and I don't think a win would take them out of number 4, being Big Ten champions. Win, they're in. Lose, they're out. Now A&M. They obviously have to win to get against Tennessee. Duh. But let's talk this through. If Notre Dame wins, and so Clemson, 2-loss Clemson, okay, they're out. Alabama wins, and Ohio State wins. It looks like Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, 1, 2, 3. Now let's get into 4. Could Clemson still get in? I don't think they should. Maybe. So then, is number 5 A&M the team you slide up? Or could you slide up a number 6 Iowa State team if they were to beat Oklahoma State, a hot Oklahoma team? Could Iowa State find a way in? I think it would take A&M probably, because, you think you'd value conference champions, but Iowa State has 2 losses. I think it gets really interesting if everyone wins that is ranked, the highest teams win, taking Clemson most likely out of it. Now, I think if Clemson wins, you have Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State in some order or fashion to be your teams. But I think Iowa State might have a shot. Could Florida, all the way at number 7, if they win, could Florida potentially get in? I don't know. I think they probably played their way out of it when they played LSU. But who knows? You never know these days. Maybe they could leapfrog a whole bunch of teams if they were to beat Alabama in convincing fashion. That would certainly shock everyone, and it would be a good conversation. I just think that LSU game might have hurt them too much. Well, let's go ahead and get into our coaching carousel, and we've had news this morning on the coaching carousel here on the Patrick Party pregame show. Well, let's go ahead and just start talking about it. So, obviously, let's just look at our pennant right over here. Auburn and Oregon, they both had some coaching news today, or not today, but this week. Auburn firing Gus Malzahn after 8 seasons after that Mississippi State win. Fired him Sunday morning. Seems like there have been talks about that for a lot longer, for that to happen right after the game or that morning. So then Auburn starts looking out. Everyone starts writing, and a lot of those people start talking about Mario Cristobal from Oregon. Well, Oregon kind of got a little bit nervous. They ended up playing the market right. I don't know if they've signed the deal, but I know they offered him a huge extension. Looks like Cristobal, Pac-12 champion 2 times in a row, Cristobal will be staying at Oregon. Now we get to Auburn. Still haven't found their coaches. Apparently they're interviewing a lot of people this weekend or this Sunday after a whole bunch of conference championship games. A lot of people thought Auburn would try and rush the hire to get it in before the early signing period. That wasn't the option. Auburn has come out with their full-on search committee. Auburn's going to go through the process, and we might not know for quite a little while. A lot of people think that Auburn-Mississippi State game, if Gus still got fired and the Auburn-Mississippi State game was just played whenever it was originally scheduled, and we ended on the A&M note, Auburn might have been able to have a coach before the National Signing Day, but we'll just have to wait and see how that turns out. Then we had our breaking news this morning. Illinois, one of the other jobs that was open, just hired Brett Bielema. He was a defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, coached at Arkansas, was fired for Chad Morris, which they probably wish that didn't happen, up in Fayetteville. Now he'll be the head coach of Illinois. Just some more breaking news. Definitely some hot coordinator names. A lot of people looking at Steve Sarkisian. A lot of people have been talking about Hugh Freeze. Lane Kiffin's name has been thrown into the mix, even though I don't think he'd leave after just 1 season at Ole Miss. Mario Cristobal was a big name until they signed him. And then even some Clemson's, as usual, offense and defensive coordinators. So it's not gonna be as big of a coaching carousel. It looks like Auburn is the premier job in this cycle, and we'll see. And I'm sure we'll have a big talking about when the Tigers hire someone and what we think about that. But now we're going to get into our big game previews here on the Patrick Party pregame show. So let's start it off with the Big 12 championship in AT&T Stadium, Iowa State and Oklahoma. Well, certainly a big-time matchup on 2 really hot teams. Iowa State, number 6 in the country. Oklahoma, number 10. Both were not even ranked at one point in the season because they both had such terrible starts to the year. But Iowa State able to beat Texas. Iowa State beat Oklahoma earlier this season. Let's read through Iowa State's 2020 schedule. So they started the season with the loss to Louisiana, won at TCU, upset Oklahoma at home, beat Texas Tech. Then they lost on the road at number 6 Oklahoma State. And then they've won ever since. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight wins, including a win on the road at Texas. And now they play Oklahoma for maybe even a shot at the Big 12 championship game. The Sooners, on the other hand, also started with 2 losses. The first 2 losses in Pac-12 play. So Oklahoma, let's go ahead and have their season review. They're 7-2, 6-2 in conference play. They played Missouri State in that opener game and beat them really bad, but shocker, they should have beat them really bad. But let's preview. Here it is. Here's their schedule. Losing to Kansas State at home and at Iowa State, 37-30, the last time these 2 teams played. And then they're on a huge winning streak, really turned their season around with that win in the Cotton Bowl, in the Red River Showdown, now what it's called, against Texas, win against TCU, Texas Tech, Kansas, number 14 Oklahoma State in Bedlam, got postponed against West Virginia, beat Baylor, got canceled against West Virginia, and now they play Iowa State. Well, certainly a big-time game for the Sooners to win yet another Big 12 championship game. I think this could be a big one. Iowa State apparently sold out their allotment, which is not nearly as much because of COVID, really spread out and everything. I don't know. I have no idea how they did that. But sold out their entire allotment in like 5 minutes. Certainly really crazy. I know they're really excited. They've never been to a stage quite like this. Well, Well, this is a big-time matchup. Lots of implications. Maybe Iowa State could sneak in. I don't know if Oklahoma will be able to all the way at 10. Most people are favoring Oklahoma to avenge one of their earlier season losses. Their last loss was to Ohio State in Ames, Iowa. This one, though, will be in Dallas, Texas, Arlington, to be exact. Sam Rattlers really turned it around this season, throwing for over 2,512 yards in Lincoln Riley's explosive offense, 24 TDs, 7 interceptions. And then Purdy for Iowa State, 196 out of 296, throwing for 2,272 yards, 17 TDs, and 6 interceptions. They've also had big running games. Well, actually, not that really. Iowa State has, though, with their 1,000-yard rusher. Actually, 1,357-yard rusher, to be exact, with 17 TDs. Well, it's going to be a fun one. We are going to go ahead and make our picks game by game for these games we're breaking down. Then we're actually going to be in Auburn Arena later today to watch the Tigers play basketball game. We're going to make all of our picks for the Power 5 games there after this show is over. But so we're not going to have like an official run down the list pick or some pre-recorded video. We're just going to kind of pick them as we analyze them. I'm going to pick Oklahoma in this one. I want Iowa State to win. I do. But I think Oklahoma's going to avenge that loss. I don't think they forgot that they lost to Iowa State on the road. Another Big 12 championship. That might be like 6 straight. Will clinch. I think both these teams might be able to get into a New Year's Six game. The winner will clinch it, no doubt. Now for our next matchup. Also at the 11 o'clock hour, big noon on Fox. So 12 Eastern. And Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Northwestern, number 14 in the land, and Ohio State. Well, this is a big-time matchup for both of these teams on Fox. Ohio State undefeated at 5-0 this season. Northwestern 6-1. Their lone loss coming just a couple weeks ago out on the road at Michigan State. Certainly a big game for both of these teams. I don't think there's going to be any fans in attendance from what I'm seeing. Most people are just thinking, Ohio State will win. But Northwestern, nobody was really picking them against. Wisconsin, they were able to come out and win. There's certainly going to be a big-time game for both of these teams. Northwestern and Ohio State, they played on this stage before. Could Northwestern actually now win a Big Ten championship game? We'll see if Pat Fitzgerald's squad can pull off the upset. Ohio State, most people think if they win, they're in, especially if they win in convincing fashion. But as I've said, the committees consistently rank them at number 4, and I think if any kind of win, they're not going to move them down for winning a Big Ten championship game. So I don't think there's too much drama to be said with this game. So Justin Fields had another huge season. They played a lot less games than our Big 12 friends. He's thrown for 1,400 yards, 15 TDs, and 3 interceptions. I think their lack of games has not really helped him in his Heisman race. And then Ramsey for Northwestern, thrown for 1,200 yards, 9 TDs, but the 6 interceptions, certainly a problem against Michigan State. They can't turn the ball over if they're going to want to beat this great Ohio State team. And Ohio State's defense, although they lost Chase Young and a whole bunch of other key players, they've really turned it on this season. This is certainly going to be a big-time matchup in Indianapolis. Northwestern, if they win, they'll be able to get in to a New Year's Six game. Certainly will be huge. We'll see what happens there. But, like I said, we're going to make our picks right now. I like Ohio State, the Buckeyes, and this one. So I picked Oklahoma and Ohio State. Now for our preview in Atlanta. The number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide. Looks like they're going to be in no matter what. But they do care about this game. Just ask Nick Saban. But they're going to take on the number 7 Florida Gators, who fell back a couple of spots after their loss to LSU just a little bit last week. It'll be in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, SEC on CBS in prime time. 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. A big game for the Southeastern Conference. Could Florida get in? We've talked about that. Even if they win, I don't know. Maybe they could. Alabama 10-0, Florida 8-2. Florida's 2 losses coming to Texas A&M and LSU. When Alabama played Texas A&M and LSU, which I know you can't play this game, but we're going to do it anyway. So when Alabama played Texas A&M and LSU, they blew both of them out bad. Alabama beat LSU 55-17. I guess they remembered when they lost last season. Well, this is definitely a big game for both these teams. Dan Mullen, I don't think he's ever, as a head coach, well, he hasn't, coached in an SEC championship game. Will he be able to win his first? And Alabama and Nick Saban, they keep winning SEC championship games. So this is no new territory for them. Although neither of these teams, specifically Alabama, were not here last season. Well, it looks like Alabama, I mean, we were just talking about the Heisman hopefuls. It was like 3 players from Alabama. They have an explosive offense. And where I think this game can really turn is Todd Grantham's defense has not been good at all this season. And I think, although I think Kyle Trask is going to be able to put up points and put up numbers, Alabama's defense has improved. Alabama has a good defense. Nick Saban's not going to not have a good defense. And they have a good defense this year. And I think where this game will change is the fact that I think Alabama's defense is going to be able to make a couple of stops and is going to be able to stop this Florida offense. And I don't know if that Florida defense is going to be able to stop Alabama, because Florida's defense is one of the worst in the conference, and Alabama's offense is one of the best in the entire country. So it's certainly going to be very interesting to see. A lot of people think the Heisman Trophy could come down to this game. I think it should kind of represent the whole season. But, I mean, all these Alabama players have had wonderful seasons, so I guess it will in the end. Certainly a big game in Atlanta in prime time. Winner probably going to be in. Florida would probably need just a little bit more craziness to help them out, even if they were to beat Alabama. Alabama, probably regardless, like we said, they're in. So I'm going to go ahead and make my pick for this one. I like the Tide in this one. Actually pretty big. I think they're going to pull away for sure in the fourth quarter against that Florida defense. I think they're going to wear them down pretty quick, and you're going to like what you see if you're an Alabama fan. And then the Patrick Party game of the week in Charlotte, North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium on ABC, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. The number 3 Clemson Tigers will take on the undefeated Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is definitely the game of the day. Winner's in, no matter what. Loser, it gets really interesting. A lot of people think if Clemson were to lose, a 2-loss Clemson team, they don't deserve to be in, and they shouldn't be. But if Notre Dame wins, it feels like they are in if they win. If they lose, you feel like they could probably hang on, maybe get that 4th spot. New territory for Notre Dame. They've never played in a conference championship before. First year in a conference, made it to a conference championship. Maybe they should stay. And then Clemson's won 5 straight. No new territory for Trevor Lawrence and his squad. But they're going to have to beat the team that beat them earlier in the season. Although it was in South Bend, although Trevor Lawrence wasn't there, it certainly was a win nonetheless for the Irish. Now, Notre Dame, Ian Book, they're going to have a strong game against that Clemson defense. They're going to be ready for the task yet again. But Trevor Lawrence, I think he makes a huge difference in this football game. And I think a lot of people are looking at Clemson and picking Clemson today simply off the factor that Trevor Lawrence is playing. It's going to be a big game in Charlotte with major implications when it comes to the playoff. And, of course, if Clemson wins, I think we're going to have a lot of drama. And if Notre Dame wins, looks like Clemson, who's made it to so many straight playoffs, will be out. It's a big, big game on ABC. And a huge quarterback matchup between Trevor Lawrence and Ian Book. Even Travis Etienne has had a big game as well, or big season as well for the Tigers. Still need to have a big game if Clemson wants to pull off the... Well, I think actually Clemson's favored by 10 points, so it wouldn't be an upset if Clemson won, although they're the lower-ranked team. Well, I am also going to pick Clemson in this one. I think a lot of people, although Notre Dame beat Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, I think that's what a lot of people have heard is that without Trevor Lawrence, then until people see Clemson win this just huge game, although that was a huge game, and win something that has a big trophy on it, a lot of people are going to remember what happened in 2012, what happened in that 2018 season when Clemson played Notre Dame in the Cotton Bowl in a playoff semifinal. A lot of people are going to remember, how Notre Dame has lost a lot of these big games. Notre Dame is going to need to keep winning if they really want to keep it going and have people pick them. But I am going to today pick Clemson. Well, that brings us to our Bingham's Booms segment. We pick the best game of each time slot. Pick an offense, defense, or special team side of the ball. Give them a boom. I guess this is our last Bingham's Boom. Kind of sad. Yeah, look at the graphic. Certain somebody's not where we thought they would still be. So this might be the last Bingham's Boom. We'll see next season if we want to keep it going or not. We'll see who we hire. But we're going to do it today because we just wanted to. Okay, so in our noon time slot, I think the best game of the day is definitely the Iowa State-Oklahoma matchup. Iowa State, they've been strong all season. They upset Oklahoma when they were in a bad place. At home, both teams are on winning streaks, but I think Oklahoma's hot. I think Oklahoma has more talent. And I'm going to get a big old boom for Sam Rattler in that Oklahoma offense. A huge game. I like Oklahoma to win yet another Big 12 championship. Best game of the entire day, of the entire week, and the best game of the afternoon time slot. Number 2, Notre Dame. Number 3, Clemson. Bank of America Stadium. A huge game for both teams. And I'm going to go ahead and give a big boon to Trevor Lawrence and that Clemson offense. Did not play Notre Dame due to COVID protocols. He actually didn't have COVID. He was on the sideline, but they had some more testing they had to do to make sure he wasn't going to pass out on the field. So he was then able to play. I think he's going to be the it factor today for Clemson. Clemson's going to win another ACC championship, and looks like both these teams will probably make the playoff if that indeed happens. And then the best game of our nighttime slot and prime time for the first time in a little bit, we have the SEC championship game between the Alabama undefeated Crimson Tide at number 1 and the number 7, 2-loss, 8-2 Florida Gators. Big time matchup for both of these teams. But I'm going to give this to the Alabama offense. A big old boom. I think they're going to take advantage of the fact that Florida's defense under Todd Grantham this season has stunk. And I think Alabama is going to get another SEC championship win. And certainly, even though a loss, they'd probably get it anyways, clinch a college football playoff spot. Well, that's going to do it for the Patrick Party pregame show. Happy holidays to everyone. Like I said, this is our last pregame show of the entire season. Last Saturday, we're going to have some stuff throughout the holiday break and all of bowl season with a whole bunch of games. But this is our last official college football Saturday. So much to talk about for sure. Well, thank you for being with us all season long. It's been a lot of fun to break down the biggest matchups in college football week by week. And this certainly crazy season had a lot to talk about, probably more than usual in this 2020 year. Sports world will keep going on. College basketball is getting into full swing. We are later, probably right after Christmas, going to release our big plans for 2021. Hopefully a much more fun sports year, at least the middle third of the year for sure. Hopefully we'll have March Madness and all that stuff. But this has been a fun football season. We're excited for bowl season. Today ends the regular season with our conference championship games. And it's been fun being here every single week on the Patrick Party pregame show. So that's going to do it. And so long and War Eagle, everybody.